I know, right? It's tough, but I gotta figure out how to help these guys. Hey everyone, it's Ergo Josh, and this is a very special video. This video is to celebrate reaching 250,000 subscribers here on YouTube and 50,000 followers on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support me through, I can actually say, all these years, these 2+ years that I've been doing this. I wanted to do this video to give back. So I asked you guys about a week and a half ago to submit an artwork that featured a face or a humanoid body of some sort with whatever style, traditional or digital, with whatever you wanted to do, post it on your Instagram page and then hashtag it ErgoJosh50K. And so I would pick some of them because over 300 of you entered. And so I had to pick around 50 or so, and we're just gonna go lightning round and roast/critique all of your artworks. So the goal for today is I'm gonna find one thing for each person that needs improvement and point it out as clearly as I can. And sometimes that might sound a little harsh, but it has to be done so that you guys can learn from it. And I'm just gonna focus on that only. No compliments, no good jobs, just straight up constructive criticism. Now, I know some of you are still probably going to end up with your feelings hurt a little bit from this video, but I want you to know that I do it because I love you guys and I want you to improve, and I want everyone else who watches this video to be able to see and learn things, AOE, collateral, learning, improvement. That's the goal here. Also, quick note, I am streaming a lot more on Twitch lately, so Monday through Thursday is what I have tentatively scheduled. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch in the evenings, and then Fridays I will be streaming on YouTube. So make sure to click the link in the description box or in the comment, wherever I put it, to follow me on Twitch so that you don't miss my casual laid back streams. And yeah, you might get to see my face a little bit more. All right, guys, I have everyone here that I've selected to be in the video. If yours isn't here, I apologize, but I can't record several hours worth of video talking about everything. And even with the 50 or so that I've selected, I have to limit myself to just like 30 seconds max, or else this will just get too long. So, but regardless, thank you so much for entering. And I looked at everyone's post and I gave everyone a like because I wanted to show my appreciation for you contributing to this challenge. All right, so with this first one, I also want to let you guys know I'm not going to be reading your names. You can hopefully see it on the screen really clearly, and I just want to save time and get right into it. So for this one, the composition is really what I wanted to get into here. I am not really feeling this flower that's just floating off in space, and then this logo here that you have for your name is not really good. Like, if you're gonna do that, put it in the bottom right hand corner. Don't let it mess up the composition here. And I know it, I've done this myself. I've drawn a pretty girl and then slapped a tattoo of a flower onto her face that looked really weird. So I get what you're trying to do here, but try to think of a way to incorporate it a lot more. Maybe the flower is coming out and it's the source of the reflected light on, or the rim light on his body, something, I don't know. But so for this person, it's really just your shading. This looks a little bit too much. It looks like she's sucking her cheeks in and her whole face into the drink that she has. You really need to chill, especially with women. I'm just gonna be honest. You really need to chill with the facial lines because it can really make people look really grotesque and old really fast. So I would recommend, instead of just one stroke, just smooth this out, make it suggested. I don't know what the reference looks like, but use your own artistic intuition. You say it's been a while since you've done a portrait. I mean, I guess I can kind of tell. It's also, you're still lacking a lot of the fundamentals here. The face is way too flat. You might be doing an anime style, but the shapes and the proportions are still not appealing yet. This is my biggest problem here. I feel like you should just finish this off. Like, you can do better than just fade this out in the background. Just finish up the hair and crop it nicely so that we can see your entire drawing. This stuff matters a lot. Here, there's a lot of little errors and issues here when it comes to anatomy and proportions, but the thing I have to say here is just try to be a little bit cleaner with your work. It's just it feels very messy and scribbly. I can't really appreciate the details here because there's so much thickness into the line work that you have for the eyes and the jawline here. It's hard to appreciate it for what you're doing. There's just too much of you trying to search for what's going on. The neck bone is just, this is something that's so common. Please just do this for me and draw 10 neck bone areas and study them and make them look exactly like the reference, so that you never make this mistake again of making it look like she just has a raised rash on her chest, because it's just, neck bones don't have that kind of look to them, and the reflection would be on top, not directly coming out from you. And even then, they're not they just bend right into the shoulders, which just isn't going to look right. Pay attention to where you're putting your highlights. Understand the form first. You know, this light on her nose looks like a light source rather than a reflection because it doesn't really make sense with where everything else is. For me, this is a little bit of a unique critique, especially since you provided the reference. Here's where I would say artistic intuition comes in. And so here I immediately thought it was kind of weird that you had this kind of thing poking out here. But then when I saw the reference, I'm like, oh, that's just part of the design. But I think in your case, since you're not going for hyperrealism, you might want to just make that straight. I think it would just make it look a lot better, a lot cleaner. It's really up to you, but I think a good artist learns kind of how to kind of omit and include things depending on if it looks good, whether or not it's actually in the reference itself. All right, this is Siri. Just gonna be honest with you, it doesn't really look like Siri too much like for me because, you know, proportions are heavy. The face is entirely skewed this way. You really got to work on getting this straight. Her neck is gigantic. She looks more masculine here than Geralt does. This neck should not go straight up to the ears, you know. So you gotta work on your proportions. Hit him hard, hit him heavy. This right here is my reaction to seeing some of the artwork that was entered into this contest. For you, another very unique critique. I don't want to see pencil shavings on your artwork. It's a really, I can't say any compliments, but come on, you know, don't leave the pencil like this is kind of cute. This is okay, but not this, like the little pieces, come on, just swipe it away. That doesn't look good, right? It's just, it messes it up, you know? And yeah, I also did this, the grid method. If you're gonna do the grid method, I'm not gonna hate on it. I mean, I do hate on it, but I did it in the past, so I can't judge you, but I can judge you for letting the grid still show in your final drawing. You need to work on that. All right, for you here, I really would love, and it's cool to have a darker scene like this, but I would really love to see more reflections, you know? It reveals the form and it really gets that mood, that tone set really well. Like some reflections on her lower eyelids. I see the light source coming from the bottom left, but you know, it's super soft, but maybe you just add a little bit to her nose, you know, show the edge of her lip here, show the top of her, some of her eyelashes catching some of the light. That would add a lot more interest to this. All right, Ocean Thinker, again, your head is kind of like being smushed this way into the corner, into the abyss. Work on your proportion. I used to do this a lot when I was drawing manga stuff, and I would start off with the circle and the arch like that. You really got to work on, like, study that Loomis method, get it on point, get it in your mind, so that your heads don't start, you know, moving around like this and being wiggly. All right, for me, this piece, it's really cool, but this area right here is a little odd to me. I would want you to experiment more of this transition with her and her, you know, mermaid flipper or whatever you call it. It looks like it's kind of an odd transitions. Like you got this like lingerie texture here, and then something that looks like scales really tightly pressed to her pelvis, and then legs coming out. I'd want to see a little bit better of a transition here, and something that flatters the form more. Like this looks like she has pants that are falling off, you know, and then like her lingerie is showing. Like I'd want you to work on that area a little bit more to show more of what's going on in this image. All right, here I really appreciate that you drew something that I did. Like you referenced this from one of my drawings, but the thing here is you really got to work on your line work here. It's too clean and stale, and it's not it doesn't flow. There's a lot of weird kind of nuances in how, can I zoom in? I can't zoom. Oh, I can zoom in. And how like it gets a little bit wiggly in some areas. Like here, like this line, that we don't need this line here. That just looks weird. All right, so for you, I looked at your other sketches and I saw this one, and I think you're suffering from one of the biggest problems that all artists suffer from, which is where the line work looks a lot better than the final drawing because it's so much more energetic. I get a better sense for the movement here. I don't know why. I think it's just in the naturalness of the line. So I would recommend you try coloring from that point without doing too much of a clean line work, and maybe leaving a lot more of that there, because this just, it's not really doing it for me. And some of the shading as well is a little bit too basic. Like this airbrush kind of feel here does not complement the texture and the movement that I get from his pants when I look at this, you know? All right, so this is again a lot of mistakes that I see with a kind of beginner digital artist. You're kind of mixing in this kind of clip, kind of like a cell shaded style with a rendered style, and you really gotta pick one. They don't look good mixed together like this. So you've got this solid block for the hair, and then you're filling in the hair into that shape. That doesn't really look too appealing. You really want to have all of the hair look like this, or you want to have all the hair look really basic. Same with the face. You have this really thick line work for the clothing, and then you have a very almost realistic looking beard here. It's just not a good look for you. Again, you have realistic looking teeth. You're shading the nose. This looks like it's the beginning of a really nice shading for the skin, but then you have the eyes looking like these two little snails shapes, and they don't actually have form to them. But you did try to add some here, but this one is really small. So work on making that cohesive, you know, especially with the clothes. I see you just completely dipped out and you picked another style for the clothes, and you just threw a texture on there. It's like you gotta be diligent with this stuff. For you though, I would say to work on these shadows. These sharp black shadows look kind of weird, especially on her forehead and her hand. It looks like she has like something like a little mini tie here. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, I would pick something else for that area. We gotta work on your lighting and your forms. You gotta work on having edge work to your forms. Everything's just too smooth and airbrushy. There's sharp contrast. Like if you look at my face now, there's a sharp contrast on the highlight of the ridge of my nostril and inside of my actual nostril. There's a sharp contrast on the highlight on my nose. There's a sharp contrast on this wrinkle or the smile line here when I'm talking. But all of this is just way too smooth, and it makes it really unappealing. And the eyes are just these ovals with the eyelashes just sticking out. You know, that's not. You got to work on making it actually look like there's form to it. And the way you drew the lighting just looks like you colored on it. It doesn't look like lighting. It's just way too intense, and you actually have to make the lighting move with the form. Oh man, this is tough. I don't know what your drawing experience is, but you have a lot of room for improvement. You know, I don't like the kind of this is my style kind of excuse thing, but just I would say to start from the basics. Really, start learning how to draw ahead. Start learning the Loomis method and the style and the way to stylize it. It's like the eyes are two completely different shape. You just took a brush and scribbled it in for the eyebrows and stuff. Like you're probably a super beginner, and I would recommend to actually just start learning from somewhere. I feel so bad for this guy here because it's like, what is this shape? What is this blob here? It looks like there's this weird lump separating his nose from his beard, and his nose is just super short. So really work on your proportions while you're doing this kind of stuff. Feel free to use a lasso tool because like that shape isn't here. His nose goes down further, and you just added this random shape here, and it needs to go up. The other ones aren't too bad, but especially this one, the proportions are really weird, but it still has this really cool look. I really love. Wait, I'm complimenting again. I need to stop. Yeah, work on your proportions. All right. First self-portrait in years. All right, buddy. So with you're clearly trying to do realism here, very somewhat hyper-realism, and I would suggest again you start learning proportions, learn the Loomis method, start studying how to actually construct a head. I definitely need to release a little course for you guys to help you out with this, but the reason is because the nose is gigantic, and I don't know if you took this with a fisheye lens, but then your mouth and your chin is receding and super tiny, and it's like I don't think these are the proportions you want to go for, and the eyes are still like kind of like tilting into different planes of the face, and you just really got to learn to construct everything here. It looks like a really weird caricature that's rendered. You tried to do Disney style, but it didn't work. I'm just gonna be right honest with you. You can't just switch to stylized stuff because you couldn't do the realism, because that means you don't know what you're actually doing. Disney style is really hard to do because it takes real anatomy and then massages it into something else that's appealing by understanding the real depth of what the anatomy is. So when you made these eyes bigger, they're kind of this weird shape that doesn't make sense with how the eyes are. And then you made the nose smaller. Okay, that's the thing that we do. But then you made you made the mouth just as big, and then the ears are really tiny, and that's just not an appealing setup. And then the way the neck is and the shoulders are, this whole shape for the head is just wonky. You have way too many different divisions here. If you're gonna do something stylized, this should be just a nice, soft, round head, you know? And I can tell like all this stuff is just based off of you trying to make something work because you lacked in some other areas. And these eyebrows are just odd. Like, this is not how eyebrows look. You should look at the reference here. We don't have random little parts of our eyebrows that come up straight. Maybe she does, I don't know. Let's see if you have a reference here. Yeah, she definitely does not have that. So don't do that. All right, this is clearly an attempt to draw Billie Eilish here, but this looks like Billie Eilish's brother. This looks really masculine. I would work on understanding what is the difference between, really masculine and feminine features, because Billie's got quite strong feminine features, and it should be it should be a lot easier to replicate this. Work on your facial proportions and your anatomy. This nose is gigantic, and I know you're not trying to do a stylized portrait here. So, all right, for you, I would really, really work on getting this hair to look a little bit more like it's actually part of the portrait. It's too constrained for me. Like if you look at the reference here, you see there's a lot of interesting parts where kind of the hair recedes and you see a little bit of the flesh here, and it's not so opaque against the flesh. And then you see the little parts where it comes out there and this nice feathered approach here. And then the ear is clearly overlapping that. Whereas in yours, the ear feels like it's been cut and erased to show that the hair is there, and I'm not getting any sense of the skin under that hair. So really work on that transition, spend time to do that, because it would have made this look a lot better. All right, William, at first I thought this was a baby, but it was a doll, so I was happy because it was really, really creepy. But you got to work on your transitions with your shading. This seems very like blobby. I don't think this is what you want, because I see some more rendered areas around the lips which look a lot better. So I would try to make that form come across a lot clearer, and not let areas be too ambiguous where you want people to focus, like the eyes and the nose there. You really want those forms to really come a lot cleaner. So work on your shading. The only thing I really want to say with this is I want to see the shape language for the hair. Like I want to see this full shape. I would have zoomed out a little bit, and so I can get that really cool shape for this afro. That's really all I have to say for this piece. Like, yeah, I feel like this is approaching a much better crop. All right, Prime Draws, you gotta stop doing this type of drawing here where you're super like hesitant, like making those super scratchy lines. Like for the simplest things, you did that in every single place. Like you gotta stop, even for the shading. Like if you had perfect sense of anatomy and proportion and you did that the entire drawing, you could say that's your style. But until then, you gotta work on actually having good line work here. All right, Raspberry, I think again, you need to work on anatomy of the eyes, construction, proportions again. The biggest thing I see people having problems with, these eyes look like somebody took the liquefy tool and just blew the eyes up and swirled them. Like they don't look the same shape. Like these eyelashes are curving outwards like this. That's not how eyelashes grow out of your eyes. They come out like that. They don't come like this, you know. So work on actually studying your reference and what's happening in the face so that you can bring it to a lesser style and then actually have it something that people can relate to and enjoy when they look at it. So with this one, I feel like it's just too flat. It just seems really, really flat to me, especially when I look at this elbow, and especially like the dress. It feels like it's just a cutout, you know. Like I want to see more movement in this somehow. But the thing that I really want to point out is how her boob is like just higher on her right side than the left one. It's like I don't have boobs, but I don't think it would go up that much when you raise your arm. It would just stretch, you know. We all have this muscle right here or whatever this is. You know, I'm studying anatomy later, don't blame me. But this stretches, but it stays right here, right? My nipple doesn't move. So it like, this is like a whole, you could fit a whole nother boob right here, I feel like. So work on that. All right, Centro Draws, for this one, this is just odd. You know, the leg all of a sudden becomes super thin here, and then the knee and the calf is as thick as her hips. This isn't gonna work. Like you gotta work on this transition here. It should follow a curve more like this. And if you want to keep everything super thick, then it should stay like this. This is very unappealing. And when anyone looks at this, they're gonna think, it kind of suggests like something is wrong with her and it's not appealing. Like, yeah, look at the reference here. It transitions to being very thin, but having the thin and then it goes thick again. That's not good shape language at all. Again here, you got to study how to construct a face and a head. Simple as that. It looks like her head has been cut off. You know, I've been watching Kushinov Ilya's, the thing that he worked on, the new Ghost in the Shell, that happens to somebody in there. Their head gets sawed basically in half, and this looks like what would happen if their hair grew back. So yeah, there should be a head here. I feel like I almost am imagining seeing blood under the hair because of how it looks. So work on actually understanding how to construct a head. All right, here I am just gonna get into the expression. You need to work a little bit more on actually finding out how to push an expression by studying what actually moves. Like this eyebrow is just slightly moving up here and then there's nothing else happening. And when you're doing this kind of like, let me actually do the expression I think you want to do here. So let's see if I can do it. I'm not trying to look stupid. I just don't look like this girl. So right, so I want to see this eye kind of compressed a little bit. I want to see this eye opened up a little bit more. And then I want to see a little bit more of a wrinkle around her lips to show that they're really tight. Just a little bit, you know, a little bit goes a long way. So this expression, I feel like you can push it more and that would make this so much more interesting to look at. All right, buddy. So for this one, you got to work again on your proportions. It looks like this guy is like being slowly phased out of existence and following into this like portal, and his body's being pushed and stretched into different dimensions. Like for his neck to be this thin and then the body so wide, you know, it's like, why is his body like at this perfectly parallel to the camera or perpendicular, and then his face is at an angle, and then it's kind of like being stretched this way? That's what I'm getting from this. So again, when you're doing anime style, they have a lot of form to it. They do it well because they've studied real people, so work on that. All right, for this one, like this was so, I feel like the quality of the beard is not even close to the way the skin is rendered. So really work on that hair. It looks like you kind of did this like, you tried your best to do this really blurred version of the beard, and then you just added these white, you know, random white flakes all over it. And when you're doing beards like this and hair, you gotta keep building up those layers more and more and more. And right now it looks like there's just 2 layers. I really want to see more. Some areas look better than others, but the eyebrows do not look good. I think this area right here is the best compared to like the rest in the background. So work on that. All right, buddy, you're good. Like this is pretty good realism here, but no compliments. No, okay. The hairbrush is really my problem here. It looks like you used a hairbrush instead of actually looking like hair. Some areas it looks kind of good, but it's just, just looks like the brush. It doesn't look good. Like when it's far away, you almost trick people. You would almost tricked me if I saw it from far away. But when I look closer up, that's where it's like, you know, this beard here, it looks like moss growing on his face rather than an actual beard hairs. Compared to here, this is not bad, but here, I can tell that brush you used, you just went way too ham on it. Like you gotta really be delicate with these hairbrushes. In this case, I would say spend a little bit of time on the clothing. This feels like a cutout, this little necklace she has, though it doesn't wrap around her neck like it should. I should see a hint of it wrapping around. I'm sure that's gonna be on the reference that you used. I don't know, it's not here, but I guarantee you that it looks a lot better on the reference and shows some actual shadow for the necklace on the skin. For you here, I would just work on the lighting. This overall backlighting kind of makes everything too evenly lit. There's not really enough depth in this piece. I want to see the lighting curve more with the form as well with this rim lighting. This should come and wrap around some of the folds of the braid here and illuminate and show it curving a little bit, showing random wispy hairs a little bit there. It's just too flat and cut out. And I think there's plenty of artists I'm sure you can look at to kind of improve on that. Again, here with the neck, it's just too sharp, man. It feels like she's gonna cut me. I don't. Maybe that's good because it's Medusa, you know. But it's just so sharp. Some of the areas are really smooth, where I feel like you should play with that sharp and smooth transition a lot more, so that this actually looks like a much higher quality piece than it actually is. I feel like you could definitely make a pretty fast improvement with that. All right, so this person, it feels kind of like, I don't know if you could say this is a style, because when it gets to some of the parts of the face, I do enjoy this, but the random like 8 infinity stuff feels like a kid drew on the paper, to be honest. Like I want more intention to this. Like it just doesn't feel united, you know. Like I've seen all kinds of art where it's super messy, but there's a nice dynamic to it, and here it's just it doesn't, like, why is there so much space up here left, you know? It's just composition wise, effort wise, like I feel like there's a lot more you could improve. I don't know how to suggest that other than to look at artists and find artists that are similar to what you're doing and try to approach their level of quality with your work. That's the only way I can advise you to move forward. Cool face, but you clearly tried to fit the body into the sheet of paper, and so it looks like you put an adult's head on this kid's body, and that's just really jarring. So just in the future, don't make that mistake. You know, it looks like she's just about to stick her finger all the way to the back of her throat to make herself puke. I would have shown the teeth here a little bit, or maybe the lip bending with some of the highlight in there. It's just something to make it more clear. No one does this, like, it's more like that, you know? It's not right? She looks like she's gonna make herself puke. This reminds me of Jim Carrey because of all the wrinkles. I don't know if this is actually him, but I think you need to pull back on the wrinkles a little bit. He looks almost like half dead. Especially with the green in there. That's really making me feel like this is a Frankenstein right here. So I pull back on the wrinkles a little bit. I don't know if that was your intention. This part of the skin looks really weird here as well. It's like, why is his neck growing out? So yeah, here I'm not understanding what you're doing with this line work. It's not coming off as, if it's a mistake, you really got to fix it, because it's not coming off as rim lighting. Like the line work just randomly changes color. So I would just make all this black and do a light rim lighting underneath the line art, or just get rid of the rim lighting at all, because you don't have a really strong light source anyway. So just make all the line work one color. Man, when I saw this, it's like, oh, that's me. That's so me right now, dude. Oh. All right, Sin Make. Again, what is this finger doing, yo? Like, it looks like it's just it's just separating from the guy's hand. Like, if it wasn't for that, this wouldn't be too bad. But, and then the hair, you got to work on that. It's just all these brush marks. You just got to work on actually having forms and clumps, and let's see how the hair is flowing. All the brush marks is just not appealing at all. You need to work a little bit on these shapes and proportions. These eyes are a little bit too jarring of a different shape here. Like, you need to make them more similar looking. I can see how they got the shapes from the reference, but here it looks like one eye's squished and one eye's bigger. Like, you got to work on that appeal. And the eyebrows, yes, they are too big. The eyebrows are going way too big off the face, as you can clearly see from the reference. There's a portion of the face that faces forward, and you need to focus and make sure all of your features are contained into that and not going into the side of the head. This is a cool style, but this has got to go. Like, you got to figure out how to do this. Like, you got to figure out how to not have this happen ever again. Like, experiment and figure out how to get your sketches to be done where those lines don't show up when you start shading. All right, here it's the brushes again. That hairbrush, stay away from it. Don't use, you can't use a hairbrush anymore. You can't. You've abused it. You violated the law. You got a good understanding. No compliments. You got to stop using the hairbrush. You got to focus on having a varied amount of detail for forms and lighting and color for different things like that. This starts fading off and it looks like cotton candy. That's a big problem with hair that I see when I see hairbrushes. This you're kind of escaping a little bit here. This area, there's depth here. That's interesting, but this is not going to cut it. This cotton candy hair, you got to work on it. It's going to be, you should feel exhausted. You should feel 3 or 4 times more exhausted than you did when you did this hair. Then you'll know you did it right. Here, I want to see more values here. I want to see a bigger transition of values. Everything is just a little bit too flat to me, and like when I squint, the face is just a wash. It's just too milky. And when it comes to the anatomy, it looks like someone surgically put like a carrot here or something cylindrical under the nose. It's just too randomly round to me. I don't know, like, you got these really anime style eyes here, so you wouldn't want to have such a prominent nose bridge at all. I don't know what you were thinking here, but this really super luminescent teal line work has got to go. It's not working here. Make the line work similar to the color of the actual form, usually a little bit darker, or just make it all black, because it's really jarring here. And, you know, clean up this look. These two things look like a mistake, so I would clean that up, and then this up as well. And then the pose, work on your anatomy, of course, because it looks like someone chopped her feet off and replaced them with hooves and is about to cut off her arm next. I don't know. All right, here I would just work on your anatomy. Like, some stuff is just being pulled and it's just not really appealing to look at for me here. Again, it's a style, yes, but you need to understand how shapes wrap around a bigger form. If this is a style, you still have to constrain the shapes to a sphere and a somewhat cone that makes up the jaw and the rest of the face. This just feels like you copy pasted the features onto this part of the face and the head is actually facing this way. Imagine if I moved all my features slightly over here to the left. That's what the impression is here. So work on your anatomy and your proportions and placing everything based on your basic shapes. Are his shoulders infinitely wide? Like, I want you to zoom out so I can see that the shoulders aren't infinity, or zoom in so much to where it's obvious that it's cropped to like right here and right here. That's my problem with this. It's just the cropping and the composition. And, you know, I would prefer his head to be a little bit farther from the top. That's getting into some Instagram topics, but yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for entering. This was really cool. I'm pretty sure I got to everyone I selected. Again, I selected people based off of trying to make an entertaining video, having a wide breadth of things to critique, even though there are a lot of repeating problems. And, you know, it wasn't based off of who was the best or who was the worst. It was just, you know, what would make the video the best and what caught my eye and what I could immediately give feedback on so that other people's could learn. So I know a lot of people have not entered or were not picked and they want another chance. And here is what you need to do. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and make sure to hit that bell icon, because the only way I announce these kind of things is on my community page. I use my community page on YouTube a lot, and you need to look at that page if you want to know when I'm doing these kind of things. And you don't have to look at it every day. It'd be a good idea if you did, but yeah, just get that notification on point so that you can see when I announce these contests. I don't announce frequently. I only do it once so I can get a good, healthy amount of people that are interested to participate. So I don't know when the next one's going to be. Don't DM me your artwork anytime now because I'm not going to look at it, but I'll let you know when I am in the future, or if it's going to be an Instagram account or anything like that. But thank you guys so much for entering. I really appreciate it. Really loved and enjoyed looking at your artwork and seeing what kind of people are in my audience. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.